Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that more than half of his military aims over Iran have been achieved, but that he doesn't want to put a schedule on the timeline for ending the conflict. Well, the Israeli leader told US media that the attacks by the US in Israel were weakening Iran's leadership by degrading the country's military, missile and nuclear capabilities. Now, his comments follow those by President Trump threatening to, quote, obliterate Iran's energy structure if a deal is not reached shortly. Our Middle East correspondent Yolande Knell is in Jerusalem and has been giving me her analysis of the Israeli Prime Minister's comments.
He looks like he's choosing his words very carefully, not wanting to contradict things that might be said by the US administration. Just yesterday, the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the war would be finished in weeks and not months. So here, the Israeli Prime Minister speaking to the US cable channel Newsmax, knowing, of course, that there is growing domestic opposition in the US to the war in Iran. He said it's definitely beyond the halfway point, but I wouldn't want to put a schedule on it. And then he went on to clarify that he meant that the war was more than halfway in terms of the missions that it had carried out, not necessarily in terms of the timing. And he listed what he said were the goals of the war that were being achieved. When it came to the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, he said thousands of their members had been killed by the joint US and Israeli operations. He said that basically when it comes to the arms industry, they're close to finishing the arms industry in Iran, that they were tackling the ballistic missile sites and wiping out the nuclear program, which has of course been seen as an existential threat by Israel, although Iran said it had only peaceful intentions for its program. The Israeli Prime Minister said that regime change was not necessarily the goal, but he did say that he thought that because of the pressure that was now being put on the Iranian regime, that it was weakening it internally and that it would collapse internally.
And Yolande, you have on one hand those comments from the Israeli Prime Minister saying that he believes half of those war aims have been achieved. At the same time, in southern Lebanon, he's been ordering an expansion of the invasion there.
Yes, on Sunday he ordered this expansion going deep into southern Lebanon, saying that already that Israeli forces had penetrated deep into 3 areas of the south of Lebanon where they are fighting against the Iran-backed Hezbollah, which came into this war a day after Israel and the US launched their attacks on Tehran. He said really that what they're aiming for there is that they are trying to stop the possibility of a Hezbollah invasion of northern Israel in the same way that Hamas attacked southern Israel on the 7th of October. And also the aim of Israel is to stop what could be sort of anti-tank fire across the border into the north of Israel. But there is a bit of a contradiction in terms of what the military is suggesting its aims are and the aims of the Israeli Prime Minister and Defense Minister, as they've outlined. They're suggesting that they want to hold for a longer period, that's occupation of southern Lebanon. The military have been suggesting it's more of a sort of temporary situation. And there has been, again, overnight, more soldiers who have been killed, 4 Israeli soldiers killed in close contact with Hezbollah in fighting that's going on in southern Lebanon. A reminder of the costs of this war for Israel as it widens its offensive against Hezbollah. And we've also had 3 UNIFIL peacekeepers who've been killed in the past couple of days, just showing the dangers of this operation.
Yolande Knell there reporting from Jerusalem. Meanwhile, missile attacks continue across the Gulf. A Kuwaiti oil tanker in the port of Dubai has been hit in an Iranian air attack, sparking a huge fire. Well, the vessel was reportedly en route to China. All 24 crew members are reported to be safe and the blaze is under control. Our correspondent Lorna Gordon is in Dubai and has been giving us the latest updates following the attack.
That was a drone attack overnight. So the authorities here say it occurred just after midnight on a very large oil tanker at anchorage in the waters off of Dubai. As you said, none of the crew on board, the 24-strong crew, were injured in that attack. There were initially concerns of a potential oil spill in the Gulf, but the authorities here say that has been averted. Within the last hour here in Dubai, we've heard a number of explosions, perhaps as many as half a dozen. When that happens, alerts are sent out to the phones of everybody here in the area, warning them to seek shelter and stay inside. The all clear has now been given. The authorities generally say that most of the explosions heard are interceptions, and they said of this last attack that their defence systems were responding to a missile threat. As I said, they say most of the attacks are intercepted, but of course that drone attack on that tanker in the waters off of Dubai is evidence that some of them do get through.
Lorna, you were just mentioning there that people receive alerts on their phones. What do all of this mean for people going about their daily lives? How much of a consideration is it for them?
Well, those alerts tell people to seek shelter and stay inside. For the most part, the alerts appear to come at night time rather than during the day. And certainly if you look around this part of Dubai, to a degree, life is continuing as normal. There is building work continuing. There are people heading out in and out of their offices. The traffic in and out of Dubai airport is also continuing, albeit at a reduced level compared to normal, but it has picked up since this situation, these attacks started just over a month ago. If evidence was needed of how busy the airport is starting to become, the flight I took in was almost completely full a couple of days ago. So a lot of people still transiting through Dubai airport, albeit at a much reduced level. And life here is continuing, although people who know the city well say it is far from normal and much quieter than usual.
Our Lorna Gordon there in Dubai. Well, Israel says that it's investigating the circumstances surrounding the deaths of 3 UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon, where Israeli forces have been fighting Hezbollah. 2 Indonesian personnel were killed on Monday when an explosion destroyed their vehicle. Our correspondent Lina Sinjab has more now from Beirut.
What we know from the UNIFIL is that, the attack yesterday was, with the explosion in a car, the vehicle that the peacekeepers were driving during a patrol they're conducting in the south of Lebanon. That's only 24 hours after, another incident where one peacekeeper also was killed when a projectile exploded in their base. This is an area that is really under the control of the Israelis at the moment because UNIFIL is based in Naqoura. Naqoura is right the last point of, on the border between Israel and Lebanon, which is, the blue line, as they call it, where they are stationed there to monitor. They've been established there since 1987. And since 1978, and they've been there since then, monitoring the situation with the forces and with the clashes between Israel and Hezbollah. And now with the Israelis expanding their boots on the ground, taking control of large swathes of the south of Lebanon, in what they say efforts to eliminate threats from Israel, they are the ones who are in control of this area. And as you said, they are investigating the case, while the UNIFIL did not clarify who is behind these attacks that made them lose 3 members of the peacekeepers within the course of 2 days.